Hi, Timothy Unkert here. In this video, we are going to factor some more quadratics. So we're going to factor 3x squared plus 13x minus 10. I'm going to list the positive factors of 3, so 1 and 3. And then I have a positive here and a negative here, but I'm not sure how it's going to arrange with 1 and 3 yet. So I'm going to list all the factors of negative 10. So we got negative 1 times positive 10. We got positive 1 times negative 10. We've got negative 2 times positive 5, and we've got 2 times negative 5. So I'm going to find the combination that gives me the sum of products that adds to 13 here. So if I'm looking at this, I do 3 times 10, that's 30. That's way far away. If I try 3 times negative 1, that's negative 3. Plus 1 times 10, that gives me a positive 7. That's not what I want. If I do 3 times 1 here, that gives me positive 3 plus 1 times negative 10 is negative 10, so that's 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7. That's not going to work. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. That's not going to work. However, though, if I do 3 and I multiply it by 5, that's going to give me a positive 15. And if I add that to 1 times negative 2, it's going to be positive 15 plus negative 2. That's going to give me positive 13. So that's what I want. Now, the 1 and the 3 are the coefficients in front of x, or the numbers in front of x. So we have 1x here, and we have a 3x here. Now, we want to do this so that the 3x multiplies by the 5. So we have to put the plus 5 here because the 3x is an inner term. If you're thinking FOIL, for instance, we multiply the inner terms together. Likewise, I want to get the 1x multiplied by negative 2. 1x would be an outer term, so I'd put the minus 2 here. Okay, I think this is my solution, but we should check using the Punnett square or FOIL or double distribution, whatever you want. I'm going to use Punnett square. So I have 1x plus 5 here and 3x minus 2 here. 3x times 1x is 3x squared. That's the first term I want, so this part checks out. And then if I do 3x times 5, that's 15x. Should have made this a little bit larger. So we got a 15x there. 1x times negative 2 is negative 2x. If I add these together, I get 13x. So that checks out for my middle term. And negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, which is going to check out for my last term. So we factored that one correctly. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, in this next example, we're going to factor 8x squared minus 10x plus 3. I'm going to list the factors of 8, the positive ones, so 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. And I have a negative b value and a positive c value. That means I'm multiplying two negative numbers together to multiply to a positive but add to a negative. So the only two negative factors are negative 1 and multiply that by negative 3. Okay, so got to look at the combinations that might work. So 8 times negative 1 is negative 8, plus 1 times negative 3. That gives me negative 11, which is close, but close isn't good enough. I do 8 times negative 3, that gives me negative 24, which is far away. So let's move to 2 and 4. If I do 4 times negative 3, I've got negative 12, and then add that to 2 times negative 1, that gives me negative 14. So that's not going to work. But if I take 2 here and multiply it by negative 3, that's going to give me a negative 6. And then if I take 4 here and I multiply that by negative 1, that's going to give me negative 4. Now, negative 4 plus negative 6 gives me the negative 10 that I want here. So again, 2 and 4, those are going to be the coefficients in front of x. We're going to have a 2x here. And we're going to have a 4x here. And we want the 4 to multiply by -1, so we're going to have to put the -1 here, so the inner terms will multiply. And we want the -3 to multiply by the 2, so we're going to have to put the -3 here. Okay, so we think that's right, so actually let me erase that, that's no good. Let's draw our Punnett square. I don't know why I'm doing such a slant there. I'm going to make it bigger this time. All right, so we got 2x minus 1, 4x minus 3. Okay, if I do 4x times 2x, I get 8x squared. That checks out for our first term. If I do 4x times -1, I get -4x. 2x times -3 is -6x. If I add these two together, I'm going to get -10x. That's our second term. And if I do -3 times -1, I get a +3. So that checks out for our last term. Okay, let's try another one. All right, this one we're going to factor 5x squared minus 8x minus 21. So I'm going to list the positive factors of 5, so 1 and 5. I'm going to list the factors of -21, so 1 times -21, -1 times 21, 3 times -7, and -3 times +7. Now, if I multiply 5 times -21, that's -105. That's way away. Even if I try 5 times 1 and 1 times -21, that's not going to give me the -8. If I do -1 and +21, those aren't going to work out either. If I do 5 times 3, that gives me +15 plus 1 times -7. That gives me a +8x, but I want a -8x. So if I take this 5 and I go down here and multiply it by this -3, and then I take this 1 here and I multiply this by 7, well, 5 times -3 is -15. 1 times 7 is +7. So -15 plus 7 gives me the -8 I'm looking for here. Okay, so 1 and 5 will be my coefficients in front of x. So 1x and 5x. And I want the 5 multiplied by the -3, so I'm going to put the -3 here. And I want the 1 multiplied by the +7, so I'm going to put that here, plus 7. It's a plus. Okay, let's see if I can draw a Punnett square straight. Nope, apparently not. Let's try that again. Oh, kind of all over the place here. All right, so we have 1x, a -3 here, 5x, and a +7 here. So 5x times 1x is 5x squared. That's our first term there. 5x times -3 is -15x. 1x times 7 is 7x. If I add these together, I'm going to get my -8x. That checks out here. And then 7 times -3 is -21, which checks out here. All right, so that one checks out. So we know that this is the correct solution. All right, let's try one more. All right, here we're going to factor 4x squared minus 16x plus 15. I'm going to list the positive factors of 4. So there's 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. And then again, we have a negative here and a positive here. So I'm going to list the negative factors of 15. So -1 times -15 and -3 times -5. Now, if I'm looking at this, if I do 4 times -15, that puts me way at -60. If I do 4 times -1, That's negative 4. 1 times negative 15, that gives me a negative 19. So I can't use 1 and 4 and negative 1, negative 15. Let's try 1 and 4 and negative 3 and negative 5. If I do like 4 times negative 5, that's negative 20, plus 1 times negative 3, that's negative 23. That's not going to work. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, plus 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, plus negative 12 is negative 17. Close, but no cigar. So we're going to try 2 and 2. If I do 2 times negative 15, that's negative 30. Doesn't matter which 2, so we're going to ignore the negative 1, negative 15. If I do 2 times negative 5 and 2 times negative 3, well, I get negative 6 plus negative 10, which is negative 16, which is what I want. So my 2 and my 2 are my coefficients. So I have in front of x, so 2x and a 2x here. And I want to multiply one of the 2's by negative 5 and another one by negative 3. It doesn't really matter where I put them. Let's check, make sure I'm correct here. So we've got a 2x minus 5 times a 2x minus 3. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. So that checks out for our first term there. 2x times negative 5 is negative 10x. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. We add these two. We get negative 16x. So that's our middle term. And we've also got the positive 15, our last term. So this is the correct factored form of this quadratic. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.